concept of horror movies and children have always been kind of like a rocky relationship. We've seen it in the past. When you think of, terrible things that would happen to kids and stuff in a horror movie, it makes you cringe. But then when the kid becomes the perpetrator, the evil one, it becomes a little different. Now, of course, we have cases where, like in the case of The Exorcist, little girl unwittingly, unknowingly becomes possessed by a demon. And then we have movies like The Omen, where the little boy is the demon. But then there are other kind of movies, haunting movies. We've seen it in The Conjuring, where the kids are harassed by a spirit, if you will, and stuff like that. But when you come to a movie where you just don't know what to think, well, that's what this film is about. The Prodigy, probably the first big horror film of 2019 came out, and I just came home from seeing it today. And I have to admit, it was a pretty interesting story. The Prodigy stars Taylor Schilling. You know her from Orange is the New Black on Netflix. And she stars as a mother. Her and her husband, they have a baby. And we think this baby is the answer to what they've always wanted. They wanted to have a baby, and they got a baby. Meanwhile, somewhere else in the country, a serial killer is being, killed off by all these, SWAT teams that have been tracking him for God knows how long. Apparently he was a serial killer, and he, one lone survivor gets away and stuff like that. And then when I saw that part, I started saying, I saw how the two unrelated events kind of like were happening around the same time. Then as the movie progressed, it kind of made me go, oh wait, are they going to go that route? Yeah, it went that route. Spoiler warning, if I haven't given so much away. I'm not going to give too much away though. It's the idea is that it's about reincarnation. Yeah, apparently, this spirit of this serial killer went inside the baby and is now trying to relive his life. As the child gets older, he starts experiencing strange behaviors that are not becoming of a kid. As a matter of fact, another person would probably consider them to be quite sociopathic in nature. Of course, the parents take him to different doctors to have him checked out, and after some incidents that happen, they've come to realize that there's something wrong and peculiar with Miles. It was weird. Look, they've been reincarnated. It's been a very long time since there's been a movie like this. The last one I can remember was Audrey Rose. It came out in the 70s, I believe, and it had a young Anthony Hopkins in there. And it had to do about a girl who was reliving over and over again the events of her death in her previous life before she was born. And there were a lot of elements in The Prodigy that kind of were callbacks to that. I'm not going to tell you what they are. Just go see the movie. It's worth a watch. I could tell you right now that it had quite a few good jump scare scenes, and there were it's one thing to be reincarnated and to retain your memory from another life. It's another thing that you're a psycho killer nut job, and you retain that. And you're kind of growing up inside this child, and then this child starts acting out those killer tendencies. This is what Taylor Schilling's character mom, her mom, Miles's mom, has to deal with. The husband too. They're both trying to figure out what the heck is going on. They try to get help, and what we see in this movie is some cliched horror stuff. Like I said, there are jump scares. There are other parts of it that kind of predictable to me. I felt like, okay, I think I see where this is going. Unfinished business. Okay, I get it. The idea of reincarnation, according to, if I'm correct, or if I'm not correct, please correct me, in the Hindu religions, especially in the Far East, is that you continue going through a succession of lifetimes until you reach a state of bliss or nirvana, if you will. Now, in the meantime, you're kind of like working out your past life through a new life. each and every life. And we've heard the stories, oh, he's born again as a fly or something. Since they bring in that whole element of reincarnation, it brings a new element of horror that one doesn't expect in a movie like this, especially when it comes to a child. Because when we see Miles, sometimes we don't know whether he's acting out his regular self or if he's acting out the serial killer within him. So you kind of, at first you're not sure, and then later on you're not sure if this is something that's willfully happening. That's what I liked about the movie. You didn't know where this kid was coming from. When he was acting all innocent, Mommy, it was gonna happen to me. Was that really Miles, or was that the killer? And I forgot the killer's name, but he's he could pretend like he knew what he was doing from the very beginning. You know what it reminded me of a little bit? Chucky. Chucky's origins are similar, except it wasn't another body, it was a freaking doll. So it's almost the same thing. Killer soul, reintegrated himself into a doll, and the doll's running around killing people. Well, in this case, it's not a little doll, but a little boy. And that's what bugged me out. I'm like, and it took 8 years for this to finally kind of stretch out and pan out. And as the movie progresses, things get worse and worse and worse, and finally it reaches a crescendo, a point, obviously, as most films does. In the third act, it kind of just all comes to a head, and we just see what ends up happening to this family that really just wanted to be happy and be together. The mother was left with a decision. The doctors who specialized in this reincarnation thing told her that something had to be done before the soul of the evil guy would fully integrate with her son's body, and the soul of her son would poof, go away. It could leave even an opening for a possible sequel, but let's see what happens. It rated 43% on Rotten Tomatoes. I looked it up and I was like, not too good. But as a horror and coffee review, I like to give The Prodigy 3 coffee cups. The story was unique, and it brought back this whole aspect of soul transfer, or reincarnation, or whatever have you about that, into a horror element that usually you don't really get in the theater. You usually get the whole haunting thing, demon possession thing, ghost thing. This was different. So what are your thoughts about The Prodigy when you go see it? Talk to me, comment below, share with me what you think about it. This is Ralph Perez from Strange Planet Horror and Coffee. Take care.